What's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a Chosen's Corner episode featuring MrLlamaSC, who is mainly a content creator for the Diablo 2 community and mostly revolving around speedrunning in Diablo 2. In my opinion, he's one of the best and most knowledgeable, most experienced RPG players in the world. He's done big events like BlizzCon, doing speedruns for Diablo 2, and he's someone that I've known from afar for many years now, so I'm excited for the opportunity to finally sit down and have a conversation with him, because I think we share very similar paths in the gaming industry, coming from StarCraft and then Diablo and branching out from there. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. Alrighty, and now I'm joined by MrLlamaSC. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Doing good. It's fun to finally catch up with you. We were planning this like 7 or 8 months ago, and then
yeah.
And then obviously we all know 2020 got a little bit crazy. So
there's like, you can always just throw the excuse of 2020 at this point, and like it's just globally accepted. It's like, yep, no matter what was planned, no matter what was happening, 2020. Okay, I understand.
Exactly.
We all get it.
That's what we're gonna go with. Well, so yeah, just give my viewers a quick introduction on maybe give us a little 1-minute rundown of you and kind of what you do and your path in gaming and all that type of basic stuff.
Sure. My name's Alex, MrLlamaSC. I am a Diablo 2 speedrunner. I started speedrunning about 5.5 years ago, something like that. Prior to that and growing up, I played lots of Diablo 2 and lots of StarCraft Brood War. And that's where the SC comes from StarCraft. I just loved both of those games and just kind of went back and forth playing all those. Wanted to grow up and be a professional gamer. Parents laughed at me and said that's not a real thing, which it wasn't at the time. But who has the last laugh now, Mom? So I do that. And then like I said, I tried to get into StarCraft casting, things of that sort. Didn't really work out. But then Diablo 2 kind of took off for me. So just rolling through that and having a good time. Just love it.
That's awesome. Like, it's crazy because like just hearing you say that, we share literally the exact same path. Like we're the same person. Just like, where are you from, by the way?
Texas.
Texas. Okay, so I live a little bit north. I'm in Nebraska. So yeah, I mean, okay. Same thing for me. StarCraft was my first love in gaming.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm going to be a pro gamer for StarCraft 1. I'm going to practice 12 hours a day. And then you come to the realization where it's like, okay, I'm getting really good, but I'm not at that level.
There's some guy in Korea who just murders me, and that's the end of it,
So similarly to you, I was like, I'm going to get into casting. And so I became a caster for did you ever hear about the fast map community, like FMP?
Yep. Oh yeah, I played all that.
Yeah. So I did a YouTube channel about that and ran like one of the better clans and tried to get a start. And then I ended up in team Root Gaming for StarCraft 2. Yep. Did you knew that? Okay.
Yeah. That's where I actually first knew of you, was from Root Gaming, actually.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever go to like MLG or anything, or?
No, I never went. I mean, I watched it all, and I did all that, and I casted some of the B streams and things, but never actually went to one of those events.
Yeah,
so
I would definitely recommend it. It's a fun time for sure.
Yeah. I went to GSL versus the World in Korea. That's the only event I've been to.
That's
so
awesome.
That was a cool one, but a little different.
That is awesome. Well then, so a lot of my content is typically around Raid Shadow Legends and kind of the mobile gaming genre. Now, you actually did a sponsored spot for Raid, did you? Like a while ago?
Yeah, I did that 3-4 months ago, something like that, probably.
And how was that? How'd that come up?
They just hit me up. They've been hitting everybody up, I feel like, right? They're just promoting the game like crazy, which is great for the game. So they just hit me up and were like, yo, do you want to do a sponsored stream with it? And I was like, sure, I'll try anything once. Have some fun with the game. And so just kind of picked it up and played it, and it was a decent game. It was fun, and it had some interesting stuff to it. It definitely seemed like a good, just hey, I'm on my phone, I'm just kind of casually playing through whatever sort of stuff, Yeah. So it doesn't have the depth of my Diablo 2 love and passion, but for a mobile game, I thought, this is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Enjoyable.
Cool. And speaking of Diablo 2, I've got one of your speed runs playing here in the background. Was that always a goal of yours, or how did that kind of come up? How did you kind of navigate into that industry?
Yeah, that just kind of came up on a whim, really. I was sitting there watching N64, like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time speedruns on Twitch. And then I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, I wonder if people stream Diablo 2 on Twitch. And I went and checked it out, and there was a guy streaming a Diablo 2 speedrun. And so I watched it and I was like, this looks cool, but I think I could do it better. And he was running around like 2 hours or something, and so I was like, I think I could beat this. And then I ran like a 4.5 hour speed run, and I was like, wow, that was way harder than I thought it was going to be. And so kind of, but I had fun with it. It was really enjoyable, and so I just kind of rolled with it from there. And then it just ended up, like I said, doing well, and so I just kept going with it.
And then you have most of the records for Diablo 2, right? Do you have like some fierce competition that pushes past your records sometimes, or?
Oh, I don't have most of the records now. There's
okay.
there's actually a lot of good competitors in the space. So I kind of was one of the like champions of Diablo 2 speedrunning at the start there with a couple others. And so we brought a lot of the characters into play. We created a lot of the builds for speedrunning and did a lot of all that stuff. Tons of guides around how to speedrun and maps and all of these. But then like a lot of people actually got into it. And so, so I definitely still think I'm one of the top runners in the game and can compete on any character really well and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people who just like grind super hard on like individual characters, and that's the hardest thing to compete with, because I like to play all the characters through normal, through hell, hardcore, softcore, do fun challenges, whatever. And they're like, I'm just gonna play sorceress normal nonstop. And so they just get like so good at the sorceress normal speedrun, and that's it,
Yeah. And I saw you've done a few of these events like BlizzCon, and I think it's what is it? Awesome Video Games Done Fast or something.
Awesome Games Done Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous going into like events like that? Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna post some horrible time, or do you just like have fun with it, or Because I know for me personally, I remember my first StarCraft event in person, and I was just like dying. I was like, oh,
right.
I couldn't even like move my SCVs because my hand was shaking. I was like,
the first couple were definitely like that, right? It was just like first time being there, there's an audience there, all of that stuff. And yeah, you're just shaking and you're sitting there and your stomach's turning and like super nervous. But like I've done a decent amount of them. Like between the GDQs, I think I've done like 5 or 6 of those. I did BlizzCon, I've done Gamescom, and then just a bunch of other like smaller events here and there. And so I don't know. I don't really get nervous by it, kind of now. Like I'm just there. I'm just having a good time, and when there's like, it's just cool, right? It's just like such a cool experience to have to stream in front of, 200,000 people or whatever it is, or to be at BlizzCon streaming, being one of the first people to stream like Diablo 4 and stuff. It's just like such a cool experience. And so I just go into it to just like really have fun and just give like an honest reaction to the game. Or if I'm speedrunning, just, try it out. And if it doesn't go well, like one GDQ, it just wasn't like going great at all. And like, what can you do? You just like, that's just how the game works sometimes.
Yeah.
So
live TV.
Yeah, exactly. So like they don't all know, they're just there having fun too.
When Diablo 4, which no one knows, are you going to be switching? Like, will that become your main game? Are you going to stay in the Diablo universe? Are you going to stay? Because you mainly do Diablo 2 community still, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. It depends. It depends what Diablo 4 is like, So when Diablo 4 comes out, am I going to be like pumping out Diablo 4 content when it first happens? You betcha. Like I am going to try and grind it and have some fun and like really just dissect the game and get into all of it and see how it goes. to really see like what's the early game like, what's the story like, what's the leveling like, and end game, and all of those pieces. So I'm gonna try and put some good hours into it just to get a good feel for the game. But if the game is crap, if it's just not fun, if it's just whatever, and it's just maybe I just go back to Diablo 2, right? Like Diablo 3 came out, wasn't my style, wasn't a lot of people's style, and so we found ourselves back at Diablo 2. So I think that there's that community there that's feeling similar. If Diablo 4 is great, perfect, that's the sequel we've been waiting for, we'll go into it. If it ends up not being that sequel, we still have Diablo 2 and we can go right back to it. So
yeah, you never really got in. See, like I did content and ran a clan in Diablo 3 and everything, but you never really got into Diablo 3, did you?
No. So I was so turned off from the start with Diablo 3 because they announced a real money auction house. That was just like the biggest letdown ever, because when I heard them say there's going to be a real money auction house in the game, immediately I was like, they don't know what they're doing with this, because that's such a mistake. Like anybody who played Diablo 2 and was really like a Diablo 2 player and like loved the game and wanted to build a good successor to it would never say, yeah, real money auction house is a good idea, right? It's just like the opposite of what would go well for that game. And so that was an instant turn off. And then just like seeing some of the other parts of it and playing a little bit of it and stuff, I just was like, it's just not Diablo 2. It's not a Diablo game, I should say. The game ended up being okay in the long run. I don't think it's the worst game ever or anything. I think it's fine and it's fun to play for a week or two, and then that's about it. But it just doesn't, like, to me, have that just Diablo feel, that replayability of it, the same factors right there. And so, so I never got into creating content for it because I was always just like, it's just not there.
But they did remove that. Like
they did.
Like a year or a year and a half into it, they finally did bow down and say, okay,
right,
like we'll get rid of the auction house. Did you think about coming back or anything when that happened, or?
Yeah, so they removed it. But the problem for me wasn't the real money auction house. It was just someone who designed the game with the real money auction house in mind also made so many other mistakes designing the game, right? Like if you thought that was a good idea, what else did you think was a good idea? And so I was just very disappointed in a lot of the aspects of Diablo 3. The itemization isn't great. The combat feels kind of like there's just so many factors where that's just like, even removing the real money auction house, yeah, it's one problem, but it didn't like fix the rest of the game for me as well. And so yeah, so I did come back to it, and played for a couple weeks, and then just got to that same point where I was like, it's just not, the style that I'm enjoying, really.
Yeah, no, I understand. And have you gotten to play both Diablo Immortal and Diablo 4?
Yes. So just the demos of each of them, because they haven't released anything beyond those. So yeah, so I've played the demos, and Diablo Immortal felt very generic when I played it. I was, the game felt fine, but I wasn't like in love with it or anything. I was just like, all right, it's a mobile ARPG. There's only so much you can do with it. And so, where your thumbs are, it just like, the look is very similar to the other ones. The play style is very similar to the other ones. So I wasn't like crazy impressed with that. Diablo 4, I thought had a good base and has a lot of potential, but there's definitely a few key points as to whether or not I think it will go down a successful path, or whether or not it will go down a, kind of more towards that Diablo 3 style, which once again, some people like, just not personally for me. So the biggest factors I would say with that were like, it played really well. The engine felt really smooth. The hits felt like you were hitting things and stuff like that. So it had a lot of the like good core mechanics built into it. The biggest worries for me are going to be like, is the combat going to turn into just blow the whole screen up eventually? Is there going to be a whole is there going to be the skills like built all of it into just one skill and whatnot? Because that's one of the most, or not one skill, but like one character gets all of the skills, right? Like in Diablo 3. And so like a non-interesting skill tree, are they going to simplify it too much? All the items are the same size and stuff like that, where it's just like so simple that you don't get to have enough of that like depth to it. So that's kind of my worry for it. But they're doing the open world thing. They're doing, a lot of different content for it. So, I'm excited to see what ends up happening.
Okay. Going back to Diablo Immortal, I want to get your take on my philosophy here about Diablo Immortal. I'm worried about Diablo Immortal. I love Diablo just like you. And always anything that comes out Diablo, I'm going to be excited.
Right.
But I question how successful like a farming game on mobile can be. Like, people don't want to sit here with their thumbs and grind XP for 8 hours a day. Like,
right.
On a PC, when you've got a mouse and a keyboard and you got Discord and you're in a call with your friends, like, I get it. But on a mobile device, sitting here holding and farming with your thumbs, I don't know how successful that can be. Like, do you agree or?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. The thing with an ARPG is that's a game that I want to play for long hours and sit there and grind and, farm the bosses and get the cool items and all of that stuff. And then a phone, I'm wanting to just like be going around and doing a little bit here and there and setting it down. It's more of like the style of mobile versus PC. And so I do think it's a weird combination. And how are they going to build it? And is it going to be Diablo-esque or whatnot? Because, I don't want to like play the game just for 8 hours grinding on my phone. Like, I want to do that on the computer.
Yeah.
And so, I definitely have that worry with Diablo Immortal. And then will there be pay to win features in the game that are, what does that look like in an ARPG? Is that too broken? I don't know. I definitely have wonders about all of the factors of mobile gaming plus ARPG. And is that just a genre, something that doesn't cross well and mesh together,
Yep. And it's weird that we haven't heard anything about Diablo Immortal for, it feels like 2 years at this point coming up. Like,
you go ahead. Yeah, you finish.
Wasn't it November of 2018? And we're coming up on November of 2020. And it's like we don't have any sort of beta release date or so. I almost wonder if they have concerns as well. I
don't know what is going on behind the scenes with it, because they announced it at 2018 November BlizzCon. Obviously, it didn't get good feedback because they made that their main announcement and everybody was waiting for D4, and so people were pissed. And then it just like the next year, so like 6 months later or something, 5 months later, NetEase, who I think it was NetEase is the developer, said that they finished development on Diablo Immortal. And that was like a year and a half ago. And Blizzard hasn't talked about it since then. At BlizzCon 2019, they had a little booth set up where they had like more of the Diablo Immortal gameplay, but there wasn't any announcements. There wasn't any news. And since then, once again, that was a year ago, there still hasn't been any announcements or any news on it. And it's like, what are you doing? Is it being released? Are you guys just scrapping the project? Are you redeveloping it? Was there a big issue? Did you get such bad feedback or something that you're changing all these things? I don't know what is going on with it at all. It's just an enigma there that just kind of they presented and made this big deal about, and then just went dead silent on it. So,
do we know anything for BlizzCon 2020 yet? I haven't been following it.
All we know is they moved it to 2021 early.
Oh, okay.
So it's like February or something is when they're gonna do the BlizzCon line.
Yep.
So that's all that I know. I don't know of any like announcements, any updates for Diablo or anything on it. Honestly, I wish I did.
Diablo 4 was announced November of 2019, right?
Yes.
So I've always said we would get it probably summer of 2021, which would be like 7 months from now, or 8 months, whatever it is, 9 months. Because they typically take about 18 months after announcement in their big titles like Overwatch and Diablo 3. I think they were both right around 18 months after announcement. So maybe in the summer of 2021, we might be getting it in like 8 or 9 months.
I think it's a good hope. I don't know if it's actually a thing. Because they said not even Blizzard soon when they announced it.
That is true.
So
that's a good point.
I think that was their way of saying not 18 months. I feel like it's an early 2022 product almost at this point. I would love to see it come out in summer 2021. I think that would be fantastic and a great time. But I just feel like, especially with the way 2020 has gone and everything, I feel like that's just going to throw in more delays. And so late 2021, early 2022, unfortunately, seems more likely to me.
Yeah, they definitely aren't going to be ahead of schedule after how 2020's been. So
no, not at all. Yeah, that did not speed them up by any means.
Did you ever play Path of Exile? It seems like a game that would be right up your alley with how you are about speedrunning Diablo 2 and the itemization and all that.
Yeah, so Path of Exile is great and not great at the same time. I think it's a really fun game. The itemization, the currency system, the crafting is all fantastic. Like, it is so well implemented. They have so many unique, awesome ideas that just really work well with the game. The issue, one, it's a little bit overly complicated and complex. They have added so much because every 3 months they add new stuff. And so it's just packed on and becomes so congested and so complex that for like new players, it's very scary. And even for experienced players, there's a lot of stuff that it's like, you just can't understand everything going on. So that's one thing. And then the combat has just gotten so power creeped that it's ridiculous. And I think that's the biggest issue I have is in the early stages of Path of Exile, combat was more, you fight and you dodge and you move and do all that stuff. And now it's like 99% of the monsters are meaningless. They're just fodder to blow up for free loot. And the only thing that really matters are like the bosses.
Which is
and lots of one-shot mechanics.
Which is how Diablo 3 farming kind of was. It was like you ram-pack the screen with 250 mobs and then just blow it all up. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I haven't played Path of Exile in like 2 or 3 years. So it was a lot like Diablo, and us StarCraft players, we like the micro,
exactly. That's the thing. I come from StarCraft where, like, you know what the greatest thing in StarCraft is? It's when you're sitting there and you're microing your dragoons against your opponent's dragoons and you're target firing and bringing the hurt one back. And, like, you're using skill in the game while also balancing going back to your base and building more units and, all buildings and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm completely on the regard of, like, there needs to be combat for it to be fun. And without that, you just kind of run into this farming loot simulator game that is fun for a bit and has cool crafting and stuff, but the gameplay just kind of gets tiring.
And I never even asked, speaking of StarCraft, what rank did you get to? Did you ever play it competitively? Did you get like Master League, Plat League, like in StarCraft 2?
Yeah, so I ended up at like top 8 masters for a few
Okay.
seasons in a row. So I was good. You know, I played against a lot of grandmaster players and
Yep.
stuff. So like every other game, I'd say I would play against a grandmaster player, something like that. So you know, so I played against Puck and you know all those guys and Rainer and Neeb and whatnot. But you know, I never cracked GM. I finished rank 1 like 2 or 3 times, and I just like never could fully get in. And you know, that was the end of my professional hopes, not being able to crack top 200. You know, I was like ranked like 250.
Yeah, if anybody out there never played StarCraft 2 ladder, Grandmaster was the top 200 players in the region. So like Korea would have 200 Grandmasters, North America would have 200 Grandmasters, and then Masters League was right underneath it, and that was like the top 1 or 2% of players. So when he says he got rank 1 Masters, it was like they would put you in a ladder of 100 random Master Leaguers, and if you were very high, you were close to the next rank. We were both pretty similar. Like I did hit GM once, but I was typically like top 8 Masters.
Yep.
So,
yeah. So it's always just hanging right around just below the top 200.
Yep.
And you know, it was fun. It was a good time. So I don't regret it at all. I had a great time playing and stuff, and still love the game, obviously.
Now, do you do content full time, or do you work, or do you have a job? Like I didn't ask you that.
Both. So I do full-time content, part-time job. So job gives access to healthcare and that stuff. And, you know, it's just one of those really annoying things in America is like, if you don't have a job, then like getting insurance off the market and it's crappy plans. You know, it's just like awful.
Yep.
So this gives me that like ability to have that, gives me some retirement stuff, HSA, you know, all those things, 401k.
Yep.
And so I kind of take advantage of that with my job, and then do full-time content otherwise though. Yeah.
I went full-time content literally I gave my notice at my job with plenty of notice, and then obviously the world went down the drain.
Right.
And my last day at work was the day that they announced the pandemic. Like
my God.
So I'm venturing out onto my own, and I'm calling around for health insurance. And they're like, just so you know, it doesn't kick in for a month. And I'm like, I know, I'm not sick. I just need insurance.
Oh God.
Because they think I'm trying to get like last minute.
You're trying to get it, with pandemic announcement.
Yeah, because
I mean, did you not have Cobra and stuff though?
Well, that was an option.
Okay.
But I just
you just looked around for a plan instead.
Yeah, no, I was like, that doesn't really make sense for me. So I'll just get it on my own. I'll just call around. And so like literally while the world is going to hell, I'm calling around asking for insurance, and they all kind of looked at me funny, like, oh, you're getting insurance now. Okay.
Yeah. Pandemic announced, so now you want insurance. How convenient.
I was like, no, I promise. Like I just legitimately
I just left my job and I need insurance.
So that was funny. But no, I mean, thanks for joining me, man. I kind of on the way out, I'd like it if you kind of let my subscribers know, what you're up to content wise, and I'll link to your stuff down below so they can check you out and let us know what's kind of coming in the future for you.
Sweet. So like I say, it's mostly Diablo 2 speedrunning, so you're gonna see plenty of that. But I've been doing little Titan quests lately. I've been playing some chess just to have fun with that. Some Among Us with friends. I throw in a little bit of that like mixed variety, but 90% of my content's Diablo 2. When Diablo 4 comes out, there'll be plenty of Diablo 4 content. I do a lot of analysis, not so much analysis, like game design stuff as well. So whenever they release, like, here's some of the game design and choices that we're making for Diablo 4, I do reviews of all of that and kind of my opinion on what I think will be solid ideas, what I think will be flops, and what they should change. Just a lot of Diablo content. That's mostly what you're gonna find over here.
Cool. And did you ever play any mobile games? Like, I know you did the sponsored thing for Raid, but did you ever play the big ones like Clash Royale or Clash of Clans, or did you ever get into any mobile type thing?
Yeah, Lords Mobile I played for, I still play, I guess. So that's been a few years that I've played that one.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's a fun game. It's gotten a little crazy with some of the power creep in it, but yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much the only mobile game I really have like put time and energy into though.
Okay.
So yeah, so I have fun.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm glad we finally made it work and got to sit down and chat for a bit.
Yeah, yeah, no, finally, happy that you reached out again because 2020, you know.
That's right. All right. Thanks, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, thank you. Catch you later. Bye.
All right, that's going to do it for this video. And again, a huge shout out to MrLlamaSC. It was a lot of fun to sit down and get to know him and have a conversation. I will link to his stuff down below in a pinned comment, so it's nice and easy to find. Definitely check his stuff out. He's a good dude, and he makes really good content, and he's an amazing gamer. So, yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.